Have you ever noticed how the older we get, the more our hearts seem to carry? It's not just memories we hold on to, it's old hurts, broken promises, the words someone once said that we wish we could unhear. And maybe, after 60, those wounds feel heavier, not lighter, because we've had decades to replay them in our minds. Sometimes, it's not even the big betrayals that weigh us down, but the small disappointments that have quietly piled up over the years. The friend who drifted away without explanation. The family argument that never really healed. Even the regrets we carry about ourselves, things we wish we'd done differently, people we wish we'd treated better. All of it can cling to us like a shadow, dimming the joy we could be feeling right now. But here's the truth no one tells us when we're younger. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's not about forgetting, and it's definitely not about letting someone back into your life if that's not safe or healthy. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free from the emotional chain that keeps you tied to the pain. It's about taking your peace back. After 60, peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Our days are too precious to spend them looking backward with anger or sadness. Every moment we hold on to resentment is a moment we're not living fully in the present. The first step toward that peace is recognizing what you've been carrying. That sounds simple, but it can be surprisingly hard to admit. Sometimes, we bury old hurts so deep we don't even realize how much they're shaping our moods and choices. You might find yourself quick to snap at someone, or you feel an unshakable heaviness even on a good day. Those are often signs that something inside is still unresolved. Try sitting quietly with yourself, maybe with a pen and paper, and just notice what feelings bubble up when you think about the past. Don't judge them. Don't rush to be positive. Just acknowledge them, like greeting an old acquaintance. Awareness is the doorway. You can't release what you haven't named. Once you've identified what you're holding on to, the second step is to shift the way you see it. This doesn't mean rewriting history to make it pretty. It means stepping back far enough to see the bigger picture. That person who hurt you may have been acting from their own pain, fear, or ignorance. That season of life that left you scarred may have also shaped parts of you that you now cherish: resilience, empathy, or the wisdom you share with others. You don't have to excuse anyone's behavior to understand it, and you don't have to erase your hurt to see that you've grown stronger because of it. When you shift your perspective, you give yourself the gift of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself too. And here's something important. Forgiveness doesn't have to be a one-time lightning bolt moment. It can be a process you return to again and again, each time loosening your grip just a little more. Some days you'll feel like you've fully let it go, and then something will remind you of the wound, and it will sting all over again. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. It's like peeling layers of an onion. Every layer brings you closer to the core, where peace lives. Be patient with yourself. After all, you've carried some of these hurts for decades. They deserve the time it takes to truly dissolve. Now, as we start walking this path toward peace, it helps to remember that letting go doesn't mean losing. In fact, when you release resentment, you gain back so much more: your energy, your joy, your ability to fully engage with the people and moments in front of you. You might even notice physical changes. Stress, tension, and bitterness don't just live in the mind, they live in the body. Tightening muscles, raising blood pressure, disturbing sleep. As you begin to forgive and release, your body often responds with relief. You can feel your shoulders drop, your breathing slows, and the world feels just a bit lighter. Forgiving others is one thing, but forgiving yourself, that's often the hardest. We can be so much harsher on ourselves than we'd ever be on someone else. Maybe you've replayed certain mistakes in your head for years, punishing yourself over and over. But here's a thought. If you wouldn't hold those same mistakes against a dear friend, why keep holding them against yourself? You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. That's all any of us can do. Self-forgiveness isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about acknowledging that you're human, and that you're allowed to keep growing without the weight of your own condemnation. So, start by speaking kindly to yourself. Notice when your inner voice turns critical and gently redirect it. Replace "I should have known better" with "I know better now." Instead of "I ruined everything," try "I learned something valuable." These small shifts in language are like planting seeds of self-compassion, and over time, they grow into genuine acceptance. The more grace you give yourself, the more you'll find it spilling over into your relationships with others. As you continue on this journey, you'll discover that forgiveness and letting go aren't just acts you do once, they're ways of living. Every day offers a choice: to carry yesterday's burdens into today, or to set them down and walk a little lighter. And the more you choose lightness, the more room you make for peace to take root. That peace doesn't come from anyone else making things right. It comes from you deciding that your heart deserves to be free. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never want to go back to carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. Sometimes, we imagine that finding peace after decades of carrying old wounds requires grand gestures of face-to-face reconciliation, a tearful apology, a perfect closure scene like in the movies. But in reality, peace often begins in the smallest of moments, the ones no one else even sees. It can be as simple as standing at the kitchen sink, washing dishes, and whispering to yourself, "I'm done letting this hurt control me." Or lying in bed at night, choosing to release the tension in your chest before sleep. Peace isn't a dramatic finish line. It's a quiet decision you make over and over, until one day you realize the sharp edges of the memory have dulled, and you can breathe without the weight pressing down. There's another truth we don't talk about enough. Letting go is not forgetting. You may still remember the details, the words, the exact moment something happened. Those memories may never completely disappear. But forgiveness changes the way they live inside you. Instead of a thorn that keeps piercing you every time you think about it, it becomes like a scar, still there, but no longer bleeding. Scars tell a story of healing. They remind you of where you've been, but they no longer dictate where you're going. One of the most powerful ways to help this process along is to create a ritual of release. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You could write a letter to the person who hurt you, saying everything you've ever wanted to say, and then burn it or tear it up, not to erase the past, but to signal to yourself that you're ready to move forward. You could pick a peaceful place, a park bench, a quiet beach, a favorite garden, and spend a few minutes there consciously picturing yourself handing the pain over to the wind, the waves, or the earth. Sometimes our hearts respond more deeply to symbolic actions than to intellectual reasoning. When you physically let go of something, it can make the emotional letting go feel more real. It also helps to surround yourself with reminders of the life you're choosing now. After 60, our energy is too valuable to waste on replaying what's already done. Fill your space, your days, and your relationships with what brings you peace. This might mean spending more time with friends who uplift you, saying no to conversations that spiral into gossip or resentment, or simply choosing hobbies that immerse you so fully that the past doesn't even cross your mind. Every joyful moment you add to your present makes the old pain smaller by comparison. And here's something gentle to remember: there will be days when the pain tries to creep back in. You might hear a song, see a photo, or pass a familiar street that stirs up the old ache. On those days, instead of feeling frustrated that the hurt still exists, see it as another opportunity to practice forgiveness again. Healing is like exercise. It gets easier the more you do it, but you still have to keep showing up for it. Sometimes, letting go also means accepting that you may never get the apology you wanted. People don't always give us the closure we hope for, and that can feel like an open wound. But closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. When you stop waiting for someone else to make it right, you take back your power. You declare, "I'm not waiting for you to release me. I'm releasing myself." That's one of the most freeing decisions you can ever make. And as you do, Something beautiful happens. You create more space inside yourself for gratitude. When your hands aren't clenched around old hurts, they're free to hold new blessings. You start noticing the warmth of the morning sun, the laughter in your grandchild's voice, the comfort of a friend's phone call. These moments have always been there, but it's hard to truly feel them when your heart is crowded with bitterness. Forgiveness, letting go, and finding peace after 60 isn't about erasing your past. It's about rewriting your relationship with it, so it no longer steals your present or your future. It's a gift you give to yourself, one that pays you back in every breath you take without heaviness, in every smile that comes more easily, in every night you fall asleep without replaying old stories. And when you wake up one day and realize the hurt no longer runs your life, you'll know that all those quiet moments of choosing release over resentment were worth it. Because the peace you found will feel like coming home to yourself after a very long journey. And that, more than anything, is the freedom you deserve. There's a quiet strength that grows inside you when you've truly forgiven and let go. It's not loud or showy. It doesn't need to be announced to the world. It's the way you breathe a little deeper without realizing it. The way you can pass by a place filled with old memories and feel calm instead of tense. The way you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to the people who once hurt you. It's almost as if you've stepped out of a storm and into a garden you didn't even know was there, one you've been planting, little by little, with every act of release. And in that garden, something unexpected begins to happen. You rediscover yourself. Because when we've been carrying pain for decades, it becomes part of our identity without us even noticing. We start defining ourselves by the things we've endured, the injustices we've faced, or the losses we've suffered. But once you put those burdens down, there's room to remember who you were before the hurt took up so much space. Maybe it's the part of you that used to laugh so hard your stomach ached. Maybe it's the curious, adventurous spirit that got buried under responsibilities and heartbreak. Or maybe it's a new version of you, altogether wiser, lighter, and more at ease. Peace after 60 isn't about avoiding life's storms. It's about knowing you can walk through them without letting them consume you. And that confidence builds with every step you take away from resentment. You realize that no matter what happened before, you still have the power to choose how you live now. That choice shows up in simple ways, whether you pick up the phone to call someone who matters, whether you pause to enjoy the taste of your morning coffee, whether you decide to start something new even though you once thought it was too late. Sometimes, finding peace also means adjusting your boundaries. Forgiveness doesn't mean putting yourself back in harm's way. You can let go of the bitterness towards someone and still decide not to have them in your life. In fact, healthy boundaries are one of the strongest signs that you've truly moved on. You're no longer driven by revenge or avoidance. Just a quiet clarity about what supports your well-being and what doesn't. It's like tending to that inner garden. You protect it from what might damage it, not out of fear, but out of love for what you're growing. And you may notice another shift. Your compassion deepens. When you've gone through the work of forgiving, you start to understand how tangled and imperfect all of us are. That doesn't mean you excuse hurtful behavior, but you see more clearly that everyone is carrying something. And in that awareness, you can connect with others in a softer, more genuine way. Sometimes, your own journey to peace even inspires those around you to start theirs. One day, you'll catch yourself in a moment of joy laughing at a joke, playing with your grandchild, enjoying a sunset, and realize you haven't thought about that thing in weeks or even months. And when it does come to mind, it no longer stings the way it used to. That's when you know you've done it. You've reclaimed your heart, your time, your life. Because here's the beautiful truth. Peace isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you choose, moment by moment, in the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat others, and the way you let the past rest where it belongs. And the more you choose it, the more it becomes a natural part of you, like breathing. And when you live this way, after 60 or at any age, You realize you didn't just forgive and let go. You open the door to a whole new chapter of life. A chapter that isn't written by what was done to you, but by what you choose to create now. A chapter filled with calm mornings, light hearts, and a freedom that can't be taken away. And maybe the most beautiful part of this new chapter is that you finally understand peace isn't the absence of all pain, it's the presence of balance, acceptance, and love that runs deeper than the hurt. There will still be moments when life surprises you with disappointment or loss. But instead of those moments dragging you under like they might have in the past, you'll find you can stand in the middle of them and still feel steady. It's like learning to float in deep water. The waves still come, but you trust yourself enough to know you won't sink. That steadiness also opens the door to joy in a way you might not have felt for years. When you're no longer replaying the past or clinging to resentment, you have more space for wonder. You start noticing little things you used to rush past, the way sunlight spills through the curtains in the morning, the laughter of a neighbor drifting across the yard, the quiet comfort of sitting beside someone who cares for you in complete silence. These moments stop feeling small. They feel like treasures. And the more you notice them, the more they multiply. Forgiveness and letting go also ripple outward. People can feel it in you. They see it in the softness of your smile, the patience in your voice, the way you don't rush to judgment anymore. Without even meaning to, you become an example of what it looks like to live unburdened. You might inspire someone who's been holding on to their own hurt for decades to finally start the journey themselves. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can give others isn't advice, it's showing them what peace looks like in a real, human life. You might even find that this transformation changes how you see the future. Instead of dreading what's ahead, you begin to look forward with curiosity. What else could life bring you now that your heart is lighter? What new relationships might grow? What adventures, big or small, could fill your days? There's a kind of bravery that comes with peace, because when you're no longer chained to what's behind you, the unknown stops feeling so frightening. It starts feeling like possibility. And here's the part many people don't expect. Peace doesn't just make you feel better emotionally, it can change the way your body feels, too. When you're not carrying the constant tension of old anger or regret, your shoulders drop, your sleep deepens, and even your face seems to relax. You wake up in the morning without that invisible weight pressing down on you. You may not have realized how much your past was draining your energy until you feel what it's like to live without that drain. So here you are, standing in a place you may not have believed was possible before, a place where your past no longer dictates your present, where forgiveness isn't a gift you gave to someone else, but the most loving thing you've ever done for yourself. And from this place, life feels different, calmer, brighter, more yours. Because at the end of the day, peace after 60 isn't about changing who you are, it's about finally allowing yourself to be exactly who you were always meant to be, without the shadows of yesterday blocking your light. And as you live in this lighter, freer space, you might notice something else: your relationships start to shift in ways that feel surprisingly natural. Conversations flow more easily because you're not entering them armed with unspoken defenses. You can listen without that constant mental filter of, are they going to hurt me like before? People feel safer around you, and in turn, they open up more. It's not that everyone suddenly becomes perfect. It's that you're no longer measuring every interaction against old wounds. You're meeting each person where they are today, not where someone else left you years ago. This shift also gives you the courage to be more honest in your connections. You can express your needs without fear of rejection, and you can set boundaries without feeling guilty. You stop saying yes just to keep the peace, because you've learned that real peace starts inside you, not in pleasing everyone else. And because you're grounded in that truth, your yes now means more. It comes from a place of choice, not obligation. In this stage of life, there's a unique beauty in realizing you don't have to carry anyone else's baggage anymore. You can be compassionate without being weighed down. You can love people deeply without losing yourself in their storms. And when you do help someone, it's not from a place of trying to fix their past for them, it's from the calm assurance that they can, like you, find their own way to healing when they're ready. Over time, the world itself starts to feel different. Things that used to trigger irritation or sadness now pass through you more easily. You can walk away from an unkind word without replaying it all night. You can handle disappointment without it reopening old scars. You begin to understand that the peace you've built isn't fragile, it's rooted deep, like an old tree that can sway in the wind without breaking. And maybe most importantly, you give yourself permission to fully enjoy what's in front of you, to laugh without holding back, to try new things even if they scare you a little, to make memories that feel warm and whole. You're no longer living in reaction to the past, you're creating from the present. Every day becomes less about what you've survived and more about what you're savoring. Forgiving, letting go, and finding peace after 60 isn't the end of your story, it's the start of a chapter you get to write entirely on your own terms. A chapter where you get to decide what fills your heart, what takes your time, and what dreams are worth chasing next. And the best part? You already have everything you need to write it. Because you've proven to yourself that you can turn even the heaviest pages into something light enough to carry with grace. And as the days pass, you'll notice that life starts to feel more spacious. Not just in your schedule, but in your mind and your heart. The constant mental chatter about what went wrong, who should have done better, and what you wish you could change begins to quiet down. In its place, there's room for gentler thoughts, gratitude for a good cup of tea, appreciation for a kind word from a stranger, the simple joy of watching the sky change colors in the evening. It's in this space that you start to see yourself differently too. You're no longer the person defined by what happened to you. You're the person who chose what to do with it. You're not the one who was hurt or the one who was wronged. You're the one who found the courage to put the weight down. That identity feels lighter, freer, and far more empowering. It's no longer about being a survivor of your past, but about being the creator of your present. And there's a quiet magic in realizing that the peace you've found doesn't depend on anyone else's behavior. Even if someone never changed, never apologized, never acknowledged what they did, you've still won. You've taken away the power their actions once had over your emotions. That's the kind of victory that lasts, because it lives entirely inside you. From here, every choice you make has a different tone. You begin to choose experiences, people, and activities not as distractions from pain, but as genuine expressions of joy. You start saying yes to things that make your heart feel alive, and no to things that drain your spirit. And each time you do, you reinforce the truth that your life belongs to you now, not to the echoes of old hurts. There's also a sense of trust that starts to grow, trust in yourself. Trust that if new challenges come, you'll face them with the wisdom you've gained. Trust that no matter what happens, you have the strength to return to this place of peace. And maybe most importantly, trust that you are worthy of a life that feels good, without needing to earn it by suffering first. This trust changes the way you see the road ahead. The years to come don't feel like something you need to brace yourself for, they feel like a gift you get to unwrap slowly, savoring every moment. Because now, instead of carrying your past into your future, you're stepping into it with open hands, ready for whatever goodness is waiting. And when you think back to the person you were before you started this journey, the one carrying all that pain, you may feel a wave of compassion. You might even silently thank them for holding on as long as they did, and for finally being brave enough to let go. Because without that step, you wouldn't be standing where you are now, in a place where your heart feels light, your mind feels calm, and your spirit feels free. And in that freedom, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop counting time by the years behind you, and start feeling time in the richness of each moment you're living now. The mornings feel softer because they're not weighed down by yesterday's heaviness. Conversations feel deeper because you're actually present, not half listening while your mind replays an old hurt. Even the quiet moments alone feel fuller because they're no longer spaces where regret echoes, they're spaces where peace breathes. You'll also find that your capacity for joy grows in ways you didn't expect. Little things of blooming flower, the sound of rain, the taste of something freshly baked land differently when your heart isn't clouded by what's already past. You let yourself be moved by beauty without the voice in your head interrupting with yes. But remember, when that voice gets quieter, the more you choose to live here, in the now, instead of dragging yourself back there, to the then. And when challenges do show up, and you notice they don't undo you the way they once might have. Instead of reacting with old patterns of anger, fear, or withdrawal, you meet them with steadiness. You know the difference between what's worth your energy and what's worth releasing. You've practiced letting go so many times now that it's become a muscle, and it serves you in ways you didn't imagine when you first started. There's also a profound kindness that flows more naturally from you, not because you've forgotten the pain of the past, but because you've learned how transformative it can be when someone offers grace. You see others through a lens shaped by your own journey, understanding that everyone has their unseen battles. That understanding doesn't make you naive, it makes you discerning. You can offer warmth without inviting chaos back into your life, and that's a balance many never master. Over time, you may even come to feel a quiet gratitude for the difficult chapters, not for the hurt itself, but for the way it shaped your capacity to grow, to love more fully, and to live more freely. You wouldn't have chosen those experiences, but you can still choose to see the strength they gave you. And that choice, that ownership over your own story, is what allows you to walk into the rest of your life with your head high, your heart open, and your spirit unburdened. Because in the end, forgiveness and letting go aren't just about the past, they're about reclaiming the future. They're about making sure that every sunrise from here on out isn't dimmed by yesterday's storms. They're about choosing, again and again, the life that feels light, peaceful, and wholly yours. And after everything you've carried, you deserve nothing less. And once you truly embrace that, every day starts to feel like a fresh canvas, no matter what the calendar says about your age. You wake up with the quiet excitement of someone who knows the day ahead belongs entirely to them. You can fill it with laughter, with learning, with connection, or with stillness, and you do so without the nagging pull of unfinished emotional business from years ago. The past still exists, but it no longer writes the first sentence of your mornings. You might notice that people respond to you differently now. They see something in your eyes, a kind of calm confidence that doesn't come from pretending everything is fine, but from having walked through the fire and choosing not to carry the ashes. Your presence becomes grounding to those around you. Friends, family, even strangers can sense it. Here is someone who understands what matters and refuses to be weighed down by what doesn't. This doesn't mean life suddenly becomes perfect. There will still be moments of hurt, frustration, or sadness. The difference is, you now have the tools and the trust in yourself to face them without letting them take root. You know when to address something, when to release it, and when to simply let time smooth it out. That inner compass keeps you aligned with the peace you've worked so hard to cultivate. And perhaps one of the sweetest parts of this journey is realizing that peace makes room for play again. You start saying yes to simple pleasures, trying a new recipe, dancing in your living room, learning a skill just for the fun of it without that old, heavy inner dialogue questioning if you should be happy. You allow yourself to enjoy life without apology, without guilt, without waiting for everything to be perfect. The years ahead, instead of feeling like a narrowing path, start to feel expansive. You see possibilities in places you used to see dead ends. You look at relationships, dreams, and even ordinary days with the eyes of someone who knows that life is shorter than we think, and therefore too precious to be spent in resentment. And when you pause to take it all in, the lightness in your chest, the quiet in your mind, the ease in your smile, you'll realize you haven't just learned how to forgive, let go, and find peace. You've learned how to live again, fully, freely, on your terms. And that is a gift you'll carry into every tomorrow you have left. And the beauty of living this way is that it doesn't just change your days, it changes your sense of time itself. You stop measuring life only by the years behind or ahead of you, and start measuring it by the depth of each moment. A conversation over tea with a friend feels richer. A walk in the late afternoon sun feels like a blessing. Even quiet evenings alone become something to savor, not just hours to pass. The peace you've claimed also gives you something rare in this world, the ability to be present without rushing ahead or looking back. You can sit in a moment without the urge to fix, judge, or control it. You notice more the way someone's eyes light up when they talk about something they love, the subtle scent of flowers carried by the wind, the rhythm of your own breathing when you pause to simply be. Over time, this presence becomes a kind of gift you offer to others. When you meet someone who's still tangled in their own past, your calm becomes an anchor for them. You don't need to lecture or persuade. Just by being there steady, grounded, unshaken, you show them what's possible. And sometimes, that's all it takes for them to start imagining that they, too, could lay their burdens down. Your journey also makes you gentler with yourself. You no longer expect perfection from your thoughts or emotions. On the days when old feelings resurface, you meet them with patience instead of frustration. You know they're just passing visitors now, not permanent residents. And because you no longer fear those moments, they pass more quickly, leaving you in peace once again. It's in this rhythm, this flow between joy, stillness, and the occasional storm that you find the deeper meaning of letting go. It's not about never feeling pain again. It's about knowing that pain doesn't get to run your life anymore. It's about holding space for the hard moments without letting them take away the good ones. And perhaps most importantly, you realize that the choice to forgive and release isn't something you made once in the past, it's something you keep making. Every sunrise is another chance to choose freedom over bitterness, connection over isolation, and gratitude over regret. And each time you make that choice, the life you're living now becomes a little more yours, shaped not by what you've endured, but by what you've embraced. Because after all the years, all the lessons, and all the letting go, you found what so many spend their whole lives searching for, a peace that no one can take from you, and a heart that's wide open to whatever comes next. And with that open heart, you begin to see life in a way that feels almost brand new. Colors seem brighter, conversations feel more meaningful, and even the smallest daily rituals, brewing your morning coffee, tending to a plant, folding warm laundry, become moments of connection to yourself. You're no longer rushing through them to get to what's next, because you've realized that what's next is happening right now, in the middle of all these little moments. You also find that your relationships evolve naturally. It's not the loud kind that needs to prove itself. It's a quiet, unwavering confidence. You know who you are, you know what matters. And you're no longer willing to give your peace away to anyone or anything. You can be kind without being taken advantage of, generous without depleting yourself, and loving without losing your own center. And the more you live from this place, the more you see the truth. Letting go didn't make you weaker, it made you more whole. Forgiveness didn't erase your history, it transformed your relationship to it. Peace didn't just appear one day, it was something you built, choice by choice, moment by moment, until it became the way you live. Now, when you look at the years ahead, you don't see a countdown, you see an open horizon. You see possibilities for joy, for learning, for connection, for simply being. You see that every day is another chance to live free from the weight of yesterday, to write a page that feels light in your hands, to step forward without the chains of the past tugging at your ankles. And perhaps that's the greatest gift of all, that after everything, You get to live not just in the absence of pain, but in the presence of joy, gratitude, and love. That your heart, once burdened, now beats in rhythm with a life that feels entirely yours. And that each morning you wake up, you get to choose this peace all over again, and every time you do, it welcomes you back like an old friend, steady and sure, ready to walk with you into whatever comes next. And as you keep walking forward with that steady companion peace, you realize it's not just shaping how you feel, it's shaping how you see yourself in the grand story of your life. You're no longer the person who merely endured. You're the one who chose to rise. That shift changes everything. When you tell your story now, it's not centered on what was taken from you, but on what you reclaimed: your voice, your joy, your freedom. There's a lightness in living this way that spills into even the most ordinary days. You might find yourself smiling at strangers more often, offering kindness without hesitation, or savoring a moment of silence without the urge to fill it. The past no longer interrupts you. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder in the middle of a good laugh or cloud your thoughts when you're enjoying the sunshine. Instead, it sits quietly in the background, acknowledged, but no longer in control. This freedom also opens a door to curiosity. You start wondering, what else is possible for me now? Maybe it's a new hobby you never had time for before. Maybe it's a trip you once thought you'd missed your chance to take. Maybe it's deepening your connection with people who truly matter to you. Whatever it is, you're no longer making decisions from a place of fear or obligation. You're making them from a place of genuine desire and excitement for the life you're still creating. And here's the quiet truth you come to understand. The act of forgiving, letting go, and finding peace isn't something you finish, it's something you live. It's woven into the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you treat yourself when no one else is watching. It's a choice you keep making, not because you have to, but because it feels good to live without the weight. One day, you might look in the mirror and notice how your eyes seem softer, how your face rests in a natural smile, how your posture feels less guarded. That's not just age or time, that's the visible reflection of the freedom you've built from the inside out. And when the sun sets at the end of the day, you'll feel a quiet gratitude not only for the good moments, but for the difficult ones too, because they taught you the value of this peace. You'll understand that this is the life you've been working toward all along, one where the past has no hold, the present is enough, and the future is wide open.